Now that we have covered how to draw ellipses, we will be working on how to rotate flaps or panels. To do this, we just define an area that we want to rotate in the first place. So I'm gonna open this area here. The whole thing hinges on basically being able to draw an ellipse. So the first thing we have here is the hinge, where we want to rotate it around. And this hinge will be our main minor axis. Since the panel should be on both sides the same size, what you will be doing is you will define where the ellipse should be living. So the width is determined by drawing a line that basically shows that this is the center of the ellipse. It should touch here and then an equal distance on the other side. So we find our halfway point here, use the multiplication method, find this point over here. Now I'm going looking for my vanishing points and drawing out into that direction. Next thing is placing the ellipse. The ellipse should touch here, and the minor axis should be that line. So when the ellipse is placed, we can double check if they're actually true. Yes, they're touching on both sides, the minor axis is correct. Now we're just putting in the end cap and the end here. And what you see with that is we have these points in alignment towards that direction. So anything that we open up on this panel will be having the endpoints here. So let's take one flap and open it a little bit. So we're pulling it out here, stopping it here where the ellipse is, and we rotated it out this much. You could draw another ellipse down here, but usually it doesn't make much sense. What you want to do is you want to just draw a straight line downwards, and you find that same line on the wall. So I'm drawing in perspective a line onto that wall, carry it all the way downwards, and then I draw into the perspective that we already had, this direction, and with that you get the lower part of the flap. So we have opened up this area, and I'm just going to darken out this line too. And you can imagine now we're looking inside that box. Now you can continue this in any angle or direction you want to. So this will be another flap that we could place here. One that we already have is at 90 degrees this direction, and even opening it towards the back. Now if we're going all the way to the back here, you won't see the edge, so it will be going behind here. This panel is close to invisible as well, so that was the minor axis. But we can now repeat this technique along here, drop it to the ground, all the way to the ground, we drop this all the way to the ground, then go in perspective along here, and there we lose the pencil tip, all the way down here, close that flap. This one is a little bit easier. This is actually in extension of this line, so it should end here. And then the last one, take this one. And I just need to see. So what you will find is here I just bounced it against the wall that exists. So I'm just taking the extension of this wall and using that same technique to bring it to the ground. Move it over here. This is where it crosses over. Then we go back into the perspective towards that vanishing point. We're closing this up, and then we basically build the flap back into this direction. So with this you can actually rotate any kind of flap or panel. So you can repeat this technique on other things, but one thing that we should be talking about too is what happens if you have a large panel that you want to rotate. A larger panel would be something towards this side, where the ellipse is not necessarily manageable or you can't get the whole ellipse on the page. What you want to do in this case is you want to use exactly the same technique that we used beforehand. So I'm finding the minor axis and I'm just drawing a smaller ellipse. Mirror it over to the other side as we have used it beforehand, the mirroring technique. So I find my halfway point here, I draw through, bring it along. So now my ellipse needs to touch here and here, and the minor axis goes this way. I like to rotate this in the direction of my elbow, so sometimes I would like to draw a small ellipse to make sure that my minor axis is okay, and then we draw this ellipse. Double check it again, make sure that your ellipse fulfills all the requirements that you're looking for. Yes, it touches top and bottom, goes to this side, and the minor axis go in the right direction. What we can do now is we can look at this and say, if I want to open this flap this much, this is the rotation I want to achieve. I want to rotate this much upwards. I need to figure out where to stop this. So now I'm looking at this part of the ellipse, and I'm going to be mimicking this in larger down here, which will give me a really good estimate where this should sit. So we can go in here and just mimic that ellipse that's going to happen in larger here. So let's first draw out this flap. We're going again back to the wall. Then we draw it into this direction. We carry this line over, bring it outwards, and basically just drawing a ramp on this one. So with this you can see this technique can be repeated over and over. The distance here would be the same thing, and even if you want to open it up fully, meaning taking this panel and really moving it upwards, now you can actually find that distance and you just can mark it off here. And then look at the rotation that you would be getting out of this. So I just move it along here, just go, okay, this ellipse would be rotating this way. Mark it off. Draw this panel out. And again, you might have to extend some of the walls. So you see this is the line that extended this wall over here. We bring it into perspective, carrying it upwards, bring it up here, and we close panel as well. So with that you can see we can really use these ellipses to build out rotations whichever way we need to have them. So now we would be looking inside the box, so you would see this part of the box on the inside. But this technique can be repeated over and over again as you need to. And if you look into a later chapter, we will explain how to actually get a certain degree out of this. But as a pointer already is here, you would clearly have rotated at 45 degrees, and this was close to a 45 degree rotation, so you can make very specific rotations if you need to do that.